and stuff you don't. It's the Ben and Bren Show.
Eric Kalver,
Benny Reiner.
welcome to the Ben and Bren Show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
hey,
man.
Brennan.
Hey,
Hey.
good to see you.
Good to
It's
see
been a
ya.
while.
Yeah. It's been
Yeah.
like exactly a year.
Yeah, was that a year ago?
Because I saw you like end of October when I last saw you.
Yep.
Is that when the CoComelon screening
when
was?
CoComelon Lane premiered. Or
Yeah.
we had our screening at Netflix.
Yeah.
And then it premiered like that weekend.
That's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you for the opportunity again.
Of
yeah,
course.
It was
yeah,
so
we loved
fun.
it. We
yeah.
loved it.
It's children's music is so fun and so challenging.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
always say with kids' music, you have to take your like 80% of your vocabulary,
Yep.
throw it out the window,
Yeah.
and then use what you have that's 20% and tell the exact same thing.
Well, when
Yeah.
we were going through like the songs to write for the show, it was like I was like, oh yeah, we gotta make this even simpler. Yeah, these are toddlers. I mean, it's not even toddlers. It's like infant to toddler age.
it's
0 to 4.
infant to toddler.
Yeah.
This show is a little bit older, just slightly from
Right,
the
right.
normal show. So we could use because it was a narrative show versus our main show, which is mainly music videos and songs and visuals. But this was an actual storyline for children because you have to think about, can they process this type
Yeah.
of, can they handle this length too? Because they were 7-minute episodes,
Yeah.
really
Well,
short stories.
Two things. One, we've gotten 2 payments for it, royalty payments for it so far. Those have been pretty nice. The second one being almost double what we got the first time. So that's nice.
Shout out PROs.
Shout out.
Public Performance.
And then also I want to ask you your opinion on because I just had a niece that was born last year. My very first time as being an uncle, and her mom is not a fan of the CoComelon. Like I think she has the opinion that and I've heard some parents that are just like that show in particular is like. I don't know, not good on the kids' brains or something. I don't know what the reasoning is, but have you heard that, or is that something that
I've been in an interesting position because
Yeah.
I'm in the prime demographic. I have the demographic at home. I
Yes.
have a test
Yes.
audience,
Yes.
which is my 4.5-year-old. So she grew up with the brand since I started there
Yeah.
at like 1.5. So I was right in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so going to daycare, picking up your child, and you're talking to parents, and of course the question comes up, what do you do? And so I've formulated my question or my response in many different ways of how I respond to kind of feel out like, is this a person that enjoys fun? Is this a person that
Let's gauge the waters here.
understands like this is a children's show, this isn't for you?
Yeah.
And so I've gotten various responses from
Yeah.
parents, but at the end of the day, like, I think everyone's just happy that there's something for children.
Right.
And in my opinion, like, I like fun. I like from the improv world of yes and. Like, I definitely don't want to shun anything that my daughter or any kid wants to watch. I think
Yeah.
it's their personality. And you can't say, like, something you loved when you were 4 is going to relate 20 years later.
Right.
Yeah.
And be like, you just have that childhood memory that that's what it was. Like, you know, I love the Ninja Turtle movies from the 90s, but I bet the people in the 90s that were adults were like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and I loved it. So if I can bring your child that nostalgia and joy when they
Right.
get there later, like, I did my job.
Yeah.
Like, this isn't for the parent. Like, some of it could be, and that was what I like to do with CoComelon is make it relatable to all, whether it was genre related, lyric related. You know, there's ways to touch both audiences.
I think
For
there
sure.
was I think there was I don't know what the fear was about it or that I've heard from people that like that show specifically or shows like that are just like the repetition of like wanting to watch it over and over and over. and
But
stuff.
that's
I'm
how
like,
that's how you learn music, and that's
Yeah,
how you learn
that's true.
storytelling. I mean, think about how many times we watched our VHSs over and over
Oh,
as
yeah.
kids. Like,
Oh,
there's
yeah.
so many videos we'd watch over and over.
Yeah.
The repetition I think is great for the children. Obviously, as we're older, again, like, this isn't what we want to do.
Right.
But like, I really don't want to rob a child from experiencing something and learning musically or storytelling wise, that kind of stuff, you know, like music in general is for everyone. And like, whether that's your style or not, like, just be happy that your kid's happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. For sure.
Well,
that they're enjoying something.
Benny
Yeah.
and I took great pride in thinking about 20 years from now, the kids in college that are like, oh yeah, remember CoComelon we used to watch, and then they sing our song that we wrote.
Yeah.
and we get to be like,
100%.
oh my
Well,
gosh,
that's like
yeah.
the cool thing
Yeah.
about working on kids music versus like literally any other like genre of music is at that juncture of a human's life when you're a little young person like that. It's like everything is so impressionable on you. Like it's like character defining, like what you consume. Like we all have those things that we can think back into our childhood that's like, oh yeah, that's like it was so impactful on so many levels. Like it just sits with you forever, the stuff that you consume at that point of your life. And that's what's so cool about doing kids music is like you're like even like young adults, it's like sure, like that's like a huge demographic for like new music and things like that, but it's not quite the same as like when you're a really young person just in entering the world and consuming those things. It's so impactful.
And it changes with every generation of
Totally.
what it is. I mean, there's things in the Gen Z world that like I can't relate to. I'm like, that was only 10 years ago.
Yeah,
But for
yeah.
them, that was like that defined who they were. Like
Truly.
for me, it was like Ninja Turtles and Boy Meets World
Yeah.
and like Batman the animated series and
Yeah.
everything.
Oh, the animated Batman.
is
That was the
classic.
Batman.
Can we take a
Like-
quick pause while we're on that subject? The Penguin. Did you finish it last
I
time?
haven't. Don't say
haven't
anything
finished.
about the last.
No,
episode.
Guys,
Say
okay.
nothing.
Watch the
All
last
right, we'll have to
episode.
talk about it on the
We
next
can't.
episode.
Yeah,
We can't.
But
I'm
you
not
have you
there
seen
yet.
all of them up to
Such
the last
no-
one?
No,
show.
I'm very behind.
Okay.
I've been taking my time with it
It's
because
so good.
It's
yeah,
amazing.
I love the
So
first
good.
3 episodes.
Yeah.
It's all great. It's not a superhero show. It's just
It's like a Sopranos.
It's
Yeah.
a
It's
It's like
Sopranos.
a Sopranos.
He's
in Gotham.
literally Tony Soprano.
I
Yeah.
have a question about the word soprano.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
Yep.
because I came across this lately.
Okay.
Soprano, soprano.
Oh, I think you're right in the soprano. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
We're from the South,
So we're gonna say soprano.
Yeah,
You can say- yeah.
We've got our
Yeah.
our own take on the English language.
Because I was talking, I'm not going to name my friend if she ever listens to this.
Yeah.
We were talking about the saxophone,
Uh-huh.
and she would call it a soprano sax.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would. That's what
But
I
if
would
I
call
think
it.
about a vocalist, it's soprano.
yeah, yeah.
So what? She said you would never call it a soprano saxophone.
I mean, it's the same word.
Yes, but
It's like
Potato, potato.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Tomato, tomato.
yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Well, okay, so
Anyway, sorry.
Nevada or Nevada?
Yeah.
I believe locals want Nevada.
Nevada.
I
Okay.
believe that's what they want.
Okay.
Like growing up, I thought it was Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oregon.
Yeah. Oregon.
Yeah, I say Oregon. Whatever the easier way of saying something is, that's how the South speaks.
Yeah.
Like whatever's just the don't have to think about it too much.
Uh-huh.
No
Yeah.
over intellectualizing.
Are you both from Tennessee?
Well, I'm from Arkansas.
You're Arkansas.
originally,
Kentucky.
but I lived in,
Yeah.
but we met in
We met in
Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Gotcha. At school, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
in college in Memphis.
Okay.
Yeah. Both in music school. Studying classical piano. I was in the jazz program.
Yep.
And you're from Rhode Island,
Rhode Island.
originally.
Yep.
And
What goes on up there? What do they do up there?
It's
Yeah, what's like the local
Play golf and
vibe
cricket or
like?
whatever games that are playing in your
well,
yard? Or
we're known as the Ocean State.
Yeah.
And we have Newport, which has a lot of sailing.
Very rich, right?
Yeah, that's a
They do the
wealthy
Newport
town.
Jazz Festival there?
The Newport Jazz Festival.
Oh, my favorite
Oh.
clip on I love to watch it when I'm just really high is the Newport Jazz Festival. Like there's documentary footage of it all over YouTube. And one of my favorite jazz singers, Anita O'Day.
Okay.
She's like amazing and like killing it. And everybody's like dressed up and dolled up. And it's like black people and white people in the 60s. Like, you know, just
Oh, wow.
Unity and jazz. And it's beautiful. And she is just coked to the gills.
lot of drugs.
Yeah.
going around,
She's
man.
like looking around like this, and she goes up to the mic, and her eyes are like, and she's like licking her lips like this and killing it.
Wow.
Killing it. Anyway, that's my
Amazing.
Newport story. Anyway,
That's not my experience at the Newport Jazz Festival because I've never been, and I
Oh, really?
should.
How far was that from like your hometown?
Oh, not far.
Yeah.
Like
I guess nowhere
30
in Rhode
minutes.
Island.
Nowhere in Rhode Island is
from each
that
other.
far because
Yeah.
if you say Providence, that's like the capital of
Uh-huh.
Rhode Island, and Cranston is about like 10 minutes south of
the
Providence.
state is just.
It takes
Yeah,
about
yeah.
an hour and a half to cross the entire
That's
state.
amazing.
Yeah.
And what's the population of the whole state?
Oh, it's like, well, it's probably like a couple million or so.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I haven't checked the stats lately,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I know LA is like 13 Rhode Islands.
Yeah,
or
just the
something.
east side
Yeah.
is Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was everyone knows everyone. It's when
Yeah.
I go home, I run into a lot of people I've known since I've grown up
Yeah.
there.
I
and
don't know a single person. I don't believe that I know of that's from Rhode Island.
You right here.
right here.
You got the one.
First,
Yeah.
I know.
It's
Do
the
you?
first.
I mean, this is like.
We're gonna play this game.
Yeah.
The 2
Do you
degrees.
know this?
2 degrees
one
of Rhode
person
Island. Well, you
out of
must know
millions
this
of
person.
people. A guy named Mike Moyes, but he also went to Berkeley.
Mike Moyes.
But he-
Well, that's
I-
a twofer because I might know
Yeah,
him from
yeah.
Berkeley.
He's still at Hamilton, but he was one of the piano players up there.
Oh, the name sounds familiar.
Yeah,
but
I don't know what town he's from, but
Okay.
musician.
Shout
Probably
out to
10,
Mike.
10 minutes from
Berkeley.
Providence, probably.
Yeah. So yeah, grew up in Rhode Island, and then you went straight to Berkeley.
Yeah, I have a interesting like entertainment family story because my father's a professional magician.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
you got the Magic
Love.
Castle hookup.
I got the Magic Castle hookup.
Really?
Yeah. Have you been?
No.
Want
Never?
to go.
Yeah.
Oh, let's
Want
go.
to
Let's do it.
We gotta go.
Let's do it.
So my father's, my great grandfather, so my dad's grandfather, was an assistant to Houdini.
Oh,
When he would
epic.
travel in the U.S., my great grandfather was a sheet metal worker, and so Houdini's crew would come and ask for help with the milk can that he would go in, and so my great grandfather would help build some of those milk cans and learn
Crazy.
tricks of the trade from Houdini's crew.
And remind, I don't know, is that a certain trick? A milk can?
So the milk
trick?
can is so Houdini was. David Blaine is the Houdini of our time.
Sure.
And
I
Houdini,
have a crazy David Blaine story.
Yeah.
By the way.
Oh boy.
we'll circle
Okay.
back to.
Yeah.
So in Houdini's time, he would do a lot of escape
Right,
artist stuff.
of course.
And so he'd go into this milk can, which is virtually impossible for like a human to fit in, but he
Right.
squeezed his body in like a contortionist.
Yeah.
And would escape from that. And it was a steel. It was like probably like this high up from
Like
the
a
ground.
drum, like a steel drum.
Yeah, like a steel
Yeah,
drum.
yeah.
Exactly. And so he would escape out of that.
Wow.
And so my great grandfather learned all these different magic tricks from the crew and then taught my father when he was about 5 and then became Rhode Island's youngest magician as he grew up in the state of Rhode Island.
Rhode Island's only magician,
Rhode Island-
perhaps.
Probably.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, there were definitely some other magicians,
yeah.
but he was the youngest.
Yeah.
And so he met my mother in a production of a musical theater show in Rhode Island. And soon after that, they started to do gigs together, went on Carnival Cruise Lines, did that for years as a duo act of doing magic. And then 10 years later, they had me, and then they started doing local birthday parties and stuff in New England, like Rhode Island, Massachusetts, Connecticut. So my mom was a clown at that time. For like maybe 15 years, she was a clown.
Amazing.
And so I grew up in that world in Rhode Island of just entertainment all the time. And so
It's a
there was
unique
What a
environment.
cool, yeah.
very, very not common tale.
Yeah.
And so, do you know Bozo the Clown, the red
Absolutely.
and white?
Oh, yeah.
So there were local bozos around the
Had a
country.
bozo birthday party when I was a kid.
There
Yeah.
you go. And there's a New England bozo, there's Chicago bozo, like all different like cable, local cable access shows. So I grew up watching Bozo in Rhode Island, which was out of Massachusetts, in the local Fox station. And I wrote to them, like wanting to get on the show as an audience member at 5 years old. And I got tickets and we went. And my dad's kind of schmoozing with the people there. This is what I think I remember. And basically talked himself into getting us a segment on the show weekly. So he did like a magic segment weekly on Bozo the Clown. And I was his assistant, the amazing Eric.
Nice.
That was my name. And so at 5 or 6, we filmed like 13 different bits for the show. So they just like roll them throughout the year. And so we did that for a few years. And that was my entrance into performing and being in front of a stage and going on stage doing magic with my dad. And so music wasn't part of the equation yet for me, not until I was about like 9 or 10 when I started to get into the Beatles and all that stuff. And my dad's mother was a USO touring singer. And so he comes from music and magic and theater. And so my whole identity coming up was just all that. And so pop music to me didn't come until I was closer to 10. Like Beatles were my pop music.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I was all musical theater growing up.
Yeah.
Completely. Disney movies, classic ones like Music Man and whatnot. So the identity of pop music and rock came in my middle school, high school years of like, whoa, what is this distortion guitar?
Yeah.
Like, it's so
just
loud.
as the angst starts
And
to
tell
come
me
along.
now that you're please gonna make children's books and a TV show called The Amazing Eric.
I mean, you heard it here first, folks.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
We'll all work on
teed
it
up
with
for
you.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, it's a unique upbringing, which is why when I got to CoComelon, it was like, well, I've built up my whole life
Here we
for
go.
this.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yes, I know this through and through.
Yeah. Had you worked on like a children's program in a music setting prior to CoComelon at all?
You know, I didn't, but I just had enough experience that
Yeah.
I just knew
Your just whole life.
my whole life built up to this moment
Uh-huh.
of like I'm the person for this because
Yeah.
I just have been around it so much, and like I obviously liked kids. I didn't just like kids, and I was always a kid at heart. I always loved Nickelodeon, always loved cartoons. I would analyze all the cartoons and music and everything. Like we were talking about Batman the animated series and like
Yes.
growing up with nostalgia. I feel like I haven't gotten out of that ever.
Yeah.
Like I'm still the Godzilla, Star Wars, Batman loving kid.
Yeah.
All the time. There's
Keep
toys,
that.
Yeah.
toys in my studio of Godzilla and everything, and I just can't.
I'm sure you
drop
and your
it.
daughter have great playtime.
Yeah.
Great playtime.
Yeah.
I love a play pretend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Daddy gets tired sometimes.
Yeah.
Not as youthful as
They want to
before.
keep going so long.
Oh, it'll never end.
Yeah.
And yeah, but it's great.
I
love it.
tend to, when the kids are playing with me, like I will get so tired of it that I will play dead. Like I will
That's a good trick.
I will pass out on the floor, and if the kid's young enough, they go, and they'll poke at your eye and like look at your eye, and I'll be like, nope, still dead. And then they'll like eventually they'll just give up. They'll be like, well, I guess they died. So
Yeah.
That's amazing.
that's a trick. I don't know if you get, I don't know, if you want to do that to
amazing.
your kid. Or
I
not,
don't
but-
necessarily go that route, but it's definitely an interesting way to go.
It's a choice.
It's
Yeah.
a choice. I'm more about figuring out the comedy of
Yeah.
children, what they like.
Yeah.
And that was a big thing for me with the children's songwriting of understanding the demographic. Like you can't tell a joke to a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
2-year-old's not going to get a joke. But what they do love is
Love a
the-
fart.
I love a fart. I was
love
just
it.
about to go.
I'm not a big physical comedy that route. I'm more of like not slapstick, but opposites. So like when they learn, like they're a sponge, all these kids.
Yeah.
So they're learning things, and when you go against the expectations, that's the comedy to them.
Okay.
Of like, a cow says "ba." Like no, cow
okay.
doesn't say "ba." It's
Yeah,
moo.
yeah.
Like that's silly. Like that kind of stuff I've learned. Like, oh, that's what they love. They love to hear that I'm wrong and they're right.
Okay.
See, I
That's
do the
good.
physical comedy, and most of the time it's terrifying for them. So, like I get up and I'm just like an 800-pound gorilla,
Yeah.
and they're just like completely freaked out.
Yeah, and
My
I'll do-
niece is not connected to me yet. She's not really sure like who I am.
How old is she?
She's she turned 1 in July.
So she's like just
She-
getting out of a blob.
She cries every time like new or people she's not so familiar with are in the room.
Understandable.
And that's
Same.
that's been my struggle. Like I went home all this summer, like just to try, I bought a jet ski, but for our lake house.
Wait,
but,
what? I'm
but,
sorry.
Yeah.
You just pivoted real
Yeah, yeah.
hard from
Well-
children to jet ski.
Well, I came home a lot to be at the lake and to be like, just fun time at our lake house where I grew up as a kid. But also because I had a new niece and I was like, I'm going to be around a little bit more so she can see me. And every time she was like, dude, fuck out of here. Yeah. So, but it'll get better.
It will get better.
Yeah.
It takes a moment.
She's
think
going to regret all the time that she was a bitch to me because I'm going to buy her all the amazing things. And when she learns out gay uncle,
gay uncle's
good,
like, that's hard to top.
she's going to be like 10 or 12 and be like, I want to go to California to Uncle Brennan's house.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to remind her.
Yeah, you show her this.
Do you remember?
podcast
Yeah,
clip,
do you remember?
and you called her
when
a
you
bitch.
were one
That's not
and
great.
I called you a bitch.
That's not really a way to get her to like you.
She'll appreciate it later. It's all fun
Okay.
and games.
Okay. Yeah.
I told you this was irreverent, Eric.
Hey,
So because being a expecting parent, I need to know all of these.
Congrats.
These little
when
tips.
when is
I keep
when,
forgetting.
when are you expecting?
Early April.
Early
Like
April.
mid-April.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're like close to halfway.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
And how's she
Yeah.
doing?
Good.
Good.
Yeah. She's like, through like the first trimester of nausea mostly. And I actually, on one of the ultrasounds where they like play the heartbeat, I recorded it on.
Of course you did.
Of course. I recorded
You're
on
gonna
my iPhone,
sample that, aren't
and
you?
I made a kick drum.
Yeah, you did.
I did. I haven't made any song with it yet, but like I'm putting this dude to work.
Oh man,
Yeah,
why
yeah,
didn't I got to go back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Round 2.
Yeah, I'm sure I could find it from an iPhone clip that we took. But
just
like,
put like some like voice of God, R bass, like bass
Yeah.
enhancer.
let's get super nerd here. What BPM was that heartbeat?
156.
There you
Oh,
go.
that's a fast heartbeat.
Yeah, and it's like slow. This was like, I don't know, maybe month and a half, 2 months ago, and it's like slowing down a little bit with each like
156,
ultrasound.
that's-
It's like drum and bass tempo.
We're getting to zone 3, zone 4.
156 is
Yeah.
156 is there's maybe some drugs involved in there.
Wow.
Going on in there.
Could be.
Wow.
Could be. Gotta set his tolerance early.
Well, I'm sure you'll hear the stereotypical advice of you won't get any sleep the first like 2 months or whatever year, blah blah blah. There's all that stuff, but I think the best piece of advice I got from a friend was everyone's going to give you advice, and some of it will work for you and some of it won't, and it doesn't matter. The biggest piece of advice is no advice matters. It's whatever's best for your family and your kid. Like that's what's most important. So
sure.
don't worry about like, well, that family does this and our baby doesn't do this.
Yeah.
And like, the comparison, it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
have to
yeah.
do what's best.
For sure.
And then the other thing you'll hear, and this is more for your wife, and I'm sure your fiance, is you'll hear of like breast milk versus formula. Mm-hmm. And the best advice we got from a doctor is like, breast milk is A++, formula is A+.
Yeah.
They're both passing.
Yeah,
It doesn't
yeah, yeah.
matter. Just get
Yeah.
the baby fed.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, don't let it starve.
No.
General rule.
General
Yeah.
rule, don't let
Yeah,
it
just
starve.
feed it.
And but
Yeah, I'm just like kind of I'm going in just expecting the absolute worst quality of life. And as far as like not sleeping and things like that, and anything better than that will
be
be
pleasantly
like
surprised.
be a
yeah,
nice
I mean, you
surprise.
could go with low expectations like that, or
I mean, I'm excited, but like,
I mean,
like,
they're like, oh man, what a downer this is gonna
Yeah.
be. But I think once and there's that stereotypical thing, like my life has changed for the better, and like to be honest, it has.
Yeah.
Like it's great. Not to say that my life before didn't mean anything, but like there's a new definition to what your existence and what your role is in life. Of like, this is someone that comes from you, and you can like either teach them all the things you wish you were taught, or like just teach them like values and what's important, and you realize like what was and wasn't important before the kid. And I think it's just a great opportunity to grow as a teacher, as a leader, not just as a parent, but like in life, of knowing how to just talk with other people and seeing what's the most important thing.
for sure.
How old is
for
your
sure.
daughter, Eric?
She's gonna be 4.5 in January.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
What's been the most fun like age so far?
Oh man, because every age has something really fun that like then they'll grow out of.
Yeah,
and that
yeah,
it
yeah.
doesn't happen again.
Yeah.
It kind of does. I think I'm really enjoying, like, she's 4 now. I really enjoyed 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Like, all ages are great. It just, they talk about terrible twos, but like some kids get terrible twos and some don't. But it's just whatever is terrible applies more to how you feel about the situation.
For sure.
You know,
Yeah.
and regulating temper.
Yeah.
And I think what's really fun for me is watching her enjoy things, just in general. Like,
Yeah.
I get emotional watching her get so excited
Yeah,
to
yeah,
do
yeah.
something. Like, she performed in a preschool like holiday concert a couple years ago. She was like, God, 2 or something like that, maybe 2.5. And you have all these kids who are just comatose, like trying to sing like Jingle Bells or whatever the song was. And my daughter is swaying back and forth, doing all the choreography.
Nice.
Like, yes, I'm going to.
Definitely gonna be in musical theater.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And this is my daughter. And I know I'm patting myself on the back, like, look at my daughter. But truthfully, like, she was the star.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I'm crying.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
So hard
Yeah.
because I'm like, she's enjoying life.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
it doesn't matter what's going on. Like, she's
Yeah.
not embarrassed to enjoy life.
Right.
And that made me so happy. And my wife doesn't cry as much as me with that stuff, but just coming from like a performing background,
Totally.
it's just like, wow, she's loving this. Has no care in the world, and I hope that sticks forever. Which
Yeah.
it won't. She'll come self-aware and be, cautious as she gets older.
About sharing her emotions and
As we
things.
all
Yeah.
do when we
Yeah.
get
I know.
that age.
I
But
know.
like right now, she's in this performer mode, and I
Right.
love to watch her just be
Yeah.
so extroverted. And
That's awesome.
That's just a joy for me.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I feel like you're getting into the prime years.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
and
never had.
she's so emotionally smart, and we can talk about things. And if I talk about it in a calm way or just show her certain content, we can talk about tempers. We can talk about like, my wife has breast cancer, so we've talked about cancer to her
Yeah.
in the past year.
Yeah.
And so there's a kid's book we're reading to her that she's starting to get it. Like, we're not going super deep, but just like, when mommy's resting, she's fighting cancer.
Yeah.
And she gets it.
Yeah.
Like, before, it was just, I couldn't just keep saying mommy's tired, like she needs to rest
Right.
over and over. It wasn't really giving her any real why. Well, why is she so tired?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so to see her become like such a person who gets it, and like, my wife films a lot of videos for her nonprofit she started that says cancer sucks, but we got this. And it's called We Got This, the nonprofit. So my daughter all the time is just saying cancer sucks. Like, cancer sucks.
Good messenger.
Yeah.
We got this. And
Yeah.
it's great.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. A 4.5-year-old saying sucks is great, but it's so cute.
That's the thing with like, I feel like profanity is like kids. It's like they're gonna cuss eventually.
They're going
So
to.
Yeah.
like, why? Like,
I was
I was
filthy in the third
in
or
like,
fourth
yeah,
grade.
like second grade. I'm like running around like
I would have gone up to you, Benny, if we went to school together and been like, "You fucking bitch."
100%, 100%.
I was a goody two shoes with the
Yeah.
swearing.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
like said it once, got in trouble at home. Like, you can't say that. Like, okay, didn't do it forever. But once I hit college and started playing Halo with friends,
Oh yeah. I mean,
that's when it started to come out.
yeah.
And like, oh wow, this feels wonderful.
I grew up
So
in the
cathartic.
I grew up in the Baptist church, so once I learned that I was gay and I was going to hell, I was like, "Well, fuck it." So, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I cussed so much when I was little. I remember me and my stepbrother watched South Park. I don't even know. We were young.
Yeah.
And didn't even know like what most of what they were saying like meant. And like one of the characters called another one like a lesbian or something. Not that lesbian's a bad word, but like one of us like called my dad a lesbian at some point, like not knowing
doesn't even make
what
sense.
that like meant. And he got like he didn't get pissed, but he was like, "You can't watch South Park."
Yeah. I was never allowed. Yeah, I was not allowed to. The parents caught on to that pretty early.
Yeah.
South Park was pretty aggressive.
Yeah.
But watch like Austin Powers.
My friends that could watch South Park, I remember being like, oh, they just must come from a bad, broken home.
Well, that was
so
Austin
properly
Powers.
judgy.
Yeah.
Austin Powers was a big one for me because all my friends were watching it, and my parents wouldn't let me, and I felt so left out.
Yeah.
Like everyone else gets to watch this. I just want to see this movie so badly, and then I saw it like 2 or 3 years later.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is wonderful.
Yeah.
Why did I miss out 3 years ago? It's so good, and it's one of my favorites.
Still holds up.
So
I great.
recently rewatched the first one with my buddy Dan, and we're like, this is still great.
It's amazing. You could not make it today, though.
No.
You
Yeah.
could not make it today, but that's sad in a large way, but like amazing series.
I
franchise.
had an extreme crush on Elizabeth Hurley. Still do, honestly. But
Yeah.
Facts.
I mean, I was like, I ain't gay no mo. Like, not with her.
Yeah.
Young Beyonce was on there.
Yeah,
And
Beyonce, Heather Graham.
Heather
was in the second
Graham.
one.
Also another hottie.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
I loved those movies. There was a point where I forget which Austin Powers, but me and my stepbrother could literally, we had like the entire movie memorized.
Yeah.
We could I think it was the only movie I ever could do that. We like literally could say every single line throughout the whole movie.
That's me with That Thing You Do.
Yeah,
for the
yeah,
most
yeah.
part. Like,
Nice.
That was the movie that solidified. I'm gonna be a drummer. Like this
Yeah.
is gonna be my motto for life.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say not so much Austin Powers that I could quote it, but That Thing You Do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you might be able to make the Austin Powers movie because we just voted out wokeism. Woke is
That's
gone.
true. It's could
Woke is gone.
could come back.
Yeah.
The Austin Powers
Did
sequel
something
might
happen?
I don't. There wasn't much news going on this week, but apparently Trump got reelected.
Allegedly.
Oh, that's not good.
I just deleted all social media off my phone. I subscribe to like the Apple News subscription you can get. Done. Canceled that. I don't have NPR even on my phone anymore because I used to fall asleep to like NPR.
Do you still have the accounts of social media?
Yeah.
It's just not on your
It's on
phone.
my iPad. So like at the end of the day, like when I'm in bed or something, I can like look at that, but like I don't get notifications anymore. Like I told Benny yesterday, I was like, if you want to post some clips of the podcast, just let me know, so make sure I can like approve or you can do it or whatever. I've been filling my brain with, I mean, since the Obama years when we could all vote for the first time, I have just been obsessed with politics. Like it's always been interesting to me. Sociology, those subjects in general are just like really interesting, but I mean, for the last 4 years, I guess, maybe at least 2 since Trump re-announced that he was running, I just like have been daily, probably 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours of political discussion and news, just in general.
That's a lot.
Coupled with everything that we're fed on social media, YouTube rabbit holes of just like, I also watch like world history documentaries all the time and just like,
I mean, that's a little
it's
different.
That's fine, but then couple that with like some drug usage and like swirling all this like nonsense that we're fed all the time, and like the right wing shit is really crazy.
Not to interrupt you, you have to watch Network.
I will.
You have. Have you seen Network?
The
From
movie
the 70s?
I have not seen it, but I know about it.
It's like it's
it
oddly
Jeff
appropriate
Bridges?
to like right now.
Who's in that?
No, I'm forgetting the names off the top of my head, but you got to watch. It's
Okay.
it's very
I definitely know about it.
on brand for everything
But
that you're kind of saying.
I just I have to shut it all off. And like all of the kind of progressive media people that I listen to on YouTube and stuff are like, they lost a lot of subscribers the other day, and that I feel that I know why.
One of them.
We want to tune out. I didn't unsubscribe. I just deleted the stuff from my phone so I don't get notifications.
Yeah.
I don't want to see the YouTube headline urgent. This whatever. I can't anymore. And like it's been.
I mean, it is kind of a drug in and of itself.
Yeah. I went to a substance abuse meeting yesterday just because I've just been, self-medicating with weed, whatever, lots of things. And like it's already gotten better. I mean, it's just like if you tune out of that stuff.
Yeah, it's like quitting anything. You just have to get through that hump of like readjusting.
Yeah.
It's like you're used to a certain routine or
Yeah.
whatever. You're used to a certain pattern. And it's like once you can break that and sort of restructure it with other things, it gets easier. And then you really start to feel the results. And then it's like the idea of going back and doing that again then becomes like, I don't want to do that. Like this is a much better
I use
flow.
this thing, and this is not an ad. This is not a sponsored thing, but like this thing called Brick. Have you heard of it? It's this device. It's a square that uses that NFC chip thing on your phone that you can physically block apps on your phone until you get the brick and physically unlock it.
So you leave the
Interesting.
brick at home, maybe?
I did that
and
today.
Okay.
Yeah, so I used the brick before I left on my phone
Okay.
to shut off the social media apps, and I literally cannot open
Wow, I haven't heard
it
of
at
this.
all until I go home and unlock it.
Okay, that's cool.
It's really cool, and
I'm
it helps
just keeping
with
mine
head.
on my iPad because I'm like, okay, well, same
That's-
thing, sort of, I
But
guess.
then when I get on the iPad, I'll want to keep looking on there.
Okay.
And so the whole idea is to just like shut it off completely.
Yeah.
Like I take social media apps off my iPad
Yeah.
completely just so
Okay.
I can like watch the movies I want to watch or do
Yep.
the work I want to do. But it's tough because this is a pretty obvious statement. There's too much content
Yep.
in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah.
And you're being fed a lot of things that you didn't know you were going down that way. And,
Right. Yeah.
and sometimes it's super helpful, but a lot of times it's overwhelming.
I put my
100%.
dog down on Monday thinking that was going to be the worst part of the week. I literally told Rick, like jokingly,
Yeah.
I was very morbid about the end of his life. I was just like, well, we got to do this. So I was just like, I'm sacrificing you for Kamala, buddy.
Wow.
Like, yeah. And
And what was
He was like,
was like,
that's
that's-
not enough.
yeah, he was like, yeah. I mean, in a way, I was. Somebody told me this the other day. He was like, Rick knew what was going to happen. He was like, I'm out of here.
Him and Quincy.
And
Same
Quincy,
day.
same
Wow,
day.
They were
same
like,
day.
we're
where
Visit.
does I love human names on pets.
Yeah.
So where does your Rick come from? Is it named
this
after
is good.
someone?
This is a
Easy,
good
yeah.
story.
So I've always had golden retrievers. Growing up, well, we've always had dogs growing up. Period. My dad like used to train bird dogs for hunting and stuff, and my first golden that I got that was mine in the 7th grade. Her name was Lucy, and I named her because she had she was a red, really very red golden, like almost looked like an Irish setter, that color. And I used to love watching I Love Lucy with my grandmother.
Nice.
And so I was just like, naturally, she's going to be Lucy. And then I put Lucy down when I was in college. Benny knew Lucy. And then like 3 weeks later, I got Rick. So he was
wow.
Ricky Ricardo, basically.
Oh, that makes-
But I
oh,
just
that's
called
great.
him. I just called him Rick. Yeah,
I love that.
Rick. Rat.
yeah.
Rick.
It was so fun to just. I mean, the cool part about his name was. People would be like, well, what's his name? And I'd be like, Rick. And then their immediate response would be like, oh, Rick. Like, just laugh when they say it. And I was like, yeah, that's just the perfect name.
It's a
Yeah.
great name.
It
And
is
then
a
when you
great
can
name.
refer to them outside of the home,
Yeah.
it sounds like this crazy roommate.
Yeah. Yeah, Rick ate all the garbage the other day. The fun story I think I've told before about Rick, just while we're on the subject of commemorating his shenanigans. Absolutely 100% my fault, but a funny thing that happened that I love the story. I had some mushroom chocolate, like a full bar of it that one day I left accidentally on the coffee table, and I came home.
Oh, no.
And I didn't know why he was acting the way he was acting. He was very frantic, but also very just like happy to see me and wiggly and everything. And I saw like a little piece of the cellophane or foil or whatever.
But what's the worst part? The fact that he got to chocolate or to the mushroom?
Yeah.
Well,
'Cause they're
the
both
double whammy.
chocolate. So the chocolate was milk chocolate. So milk chocolate's just milk and sugar, pretty much.
So is it the
It's-
cocoa, like a dark chocolate?
cocoa
that's like, what's
is
the
what's
bad thing?
cocoa.
70%.
Yeah,
Or
cocoa
60%.
That
is
hard
what's,
shit.
and
Yeah.
then also it's for a dog his size, 80 pounds, he would have to consume a massive amount of it.
I kind of forget about that because I'm so used to little dogs.
Yes. If your little
Yeah.
dog had consumed that bar,
Oh, done.
throwing up, maybe even worse.
Yeah.
Perhaps. But if it's milk chocolate, it's not going to hurt a dog.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so I wasn't worried about that. But I had only eaten like 3 squares of it, just like as a little microdose, and I was like, oh, I'll do the rest later or whatever, save it for later. He ate the 75% of a 3.5 gram dose of mushrooms on 80 pounds. That's a talk to God trip.
Rick has lived more of a more eclectic life than most humans.
And I want to know what he saw because when I took him outside and he was just wiggling, he was just like, and I had to hold him. I was like, poor buddy. I was like, yeah, tell me what it's like up there. Looking like I'm sure his soul left his body for a little bit, but
Rick.
anyway, that was his
Rick.
psychedelic trip. But yeah, it's been a shitty week. Let's hope that fascism doesn't prevail.
I hope not.
Yeah,
Control of all of the agencies of government is really scary. I mean, when anyone has all the levers, I guess. You
Yeah.
know, I don't know
Yeah.
what the House race is looking at this point because I haven't been watching the news.
Ignorance
That's
is bliss.
good. That's good.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
So if they have all 3 levers, executive and judicial and House and Senate, all that, I don't know.
I think it'll all be fine. I think the only thing that could really be a drag and consequential is the judicial court appointees
Yeah.
and the appointings that happen.
That's going to be lifetime.
because
for
that's
us.
that's going to outlast a 4-year
Yeah.
sort of cycle. So I think that's definitely my main concern. But this go round, I'm also I don't know, especially maybe it's also expecting a kid. I'm I got plenty of other things.
Right.
That's
worry
kind of
about.
my attitude as
Yeah.
well. Not that I'm being ignorant and
Yeah.
not feeling bad for friends and things and what could happen, but my wife has cancer. I have a 4.5-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got a lot to worry about.
I have those things that are top of my list, and
Yeah.
then I will obviously think about the other things, but
Those take the attention.
Yeah.
Those and those warrant the attention. A lot
Yeah.
of this stuff is just so out of any of our control.
Right.
Yeah,
And
we've
it's
voted. What else do you do?
It is what it is. It's you just
The most upsetting thing for me, I was telling my mom this the other day. I was raised in church, and as a lot of us are, and there's good takeaways from that. I would say, and there's been a lot of hurt for me as a queer person in the environment that I grew up. But the most upsetting part about this whole thing is being taught all these, whether you went to church or not, but being taught all of these morals and values and beliefs, and then watching the antithesis of that be elected by the very people who taught you those morals and values.
right.
That's the most devastating part. It's the pillars of morality that you've been raised upon just immediately crumbled last Tuesday.
That plus having to explain to the future generation,
Right.
Yeah.
why did this happen?
Yeah.
He's a fucking asshole. Of the worst kind. He's the worst person I can think of anybody. And that we all just said, yep, that guy.
I don't think we all said
No,
it.
yeah. Half of us did
think-
not.
I think a
good
And
amount did.
I honestly think a lot of people reluctantly voted for him. Some of my family members. But the other sad part too is watching. I won't name any names here, but one of my family members told me years ago I've tried to convince half of my family over the years that like, hey, you should shut off the 24-hour cable news cycle that is Fox News because it's melting your brain. And their rebuttal to that was like, well, you just watch MSNBC. No, I don't. I left that a long time ago. I listen to people that I don't have a moneyed stake in the game, that have their values system in place that I agree with. And the response to quit watching the Fox News years ago, this was a number of years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago at this point, and they said, oh, I don't watch that anymore. I watch Newsmax.
Okay. Yeah.
Step in the wrong direction.
I've just watched this turn more right, and I'm just like, what?
Yeah.
You have to watch Network.
Yeah.
You will be you'll just vibe with it so hard because it's so much about this.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of like about.
Is it Roger Ailes? Is it? I mean, or is it
No,
that
it's not
story?
about.
It's from
Fox
the 70s,
News.
so that wasn't Fox News.
Yeah, it's not about Fox
Yeah.
News, but in a nutshell, basically, it's about this news network that is acquired by a bigger umbrella company.
Yeah.
And they go and are cutting, just sort of reformatting. And this news anchor that's been there for a long time is getting fired.
Yeah.
And then he goes on his last episode and he's like, I'm going to kill myself on air. Yeah. And they like tweak out and are like he can't go on at all anymore. But their ratings go way up.
Yep.
And then they're like, after he's fired, they're like, we have to get him back on. Like, we have to get him like back on just to like talk his mind. And he's like, he like has this like awakening of where he just feels like God talked to him and he has all the knowledge now. And he's going on and saying these things. And they make this whole specific show for him where he's just like going off and just really not, traditional respected sort of media, but just what we kind of know of today is just like a circus kind of show. But the ratings go crazy. And I won't give it away anymore, but it's like really
spoiler alert, it's only been out since the 70s, but
yeah. It's like it really is a great take on how we've ended up here in news and entertainment and that like crossover that has happened like with places like Fox News, where it's like we're gonna like just mask this in news, but this is really just like a variety show.
Anytime they've ever been
thing.
sued, Tucker Carlson or anybody, their lawyers always say this is just entertainment.
Yeah.
They get to say that. And it's horrific. How are you doing in the sun over there, by the way?
I know.
What do you
right?
mean? Does it look like there's sun in my face and I'm just tired and putting my face? Yeah, no. Does this help for the camera?
No, I mean, I'm just worried about you. I don't.
I'm gonna
be uncomfortable.
There.
Yeah, there you go.
can
There you go.
slide
Yeah,
over
yeah,
a
yeah,
little bit.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
There you
can adjust my posture
The
like a
sun
human.
It's moving very slowly.
I'm gonna take a TT break.
Yeah.
Is this part of the show? This is still rolling? Wow.
It is.
Look at it. We just. I want to ask you. I'm curious because I've been thinking about. I'm sure you've done a lot of different gigs, like I have, and I know Brennan has done the wedding band stuff
for sure.
I'm really curious from both of you. What is your favorite wedding gig or corporate gig story that you've had of like
It's funny you ask this.
a mishap or something that's just like what is going on?
Yeah. It's funny you ask this because we do often do a similar kind of idea where we ask like worst gig ever.
Yeah.
So it's kind of related.
And I will ask, have you told this story before in the show? Because I don't want you to repeat a story.
Well, there's one that we have told that just quickly. Basically, we played just a family event of Brennan's. His uncle just had like a little birthday party or something.
The story that I've just recently told you about one of my family members in Newsmax, it might be related to this yeah.
Yeah, we're playing. Well, I can't say the words, so maybe you should.
Was this
Say
this
it.
back in like,
This is like
the South?
I get yeah.
This is like 2010-ish.
2010.
Yeah, we were playing a pool party.
It was Arkansas or was it?
It was
Tennessee.
in
Tennessee.
Memphis.
It was in
Yeah.
Memphis,
Okay.
yeah.
And I will give my uncle props for this. This was a great time to be alive. This is we were playing, and this drunk guy comes out. I don't even know who it was. Somebody I'd never met. Super wasted. Very aggressively requesting a song that we didn't know. I will sometimes try to be like, okay, let me see if I know
what was the
it.
song? Do you remember?
Can't remember. But he was just like, he got really mad and really heated and was just like, threw a wet towel at me. It hit me in the face and called me a faggot. And then my uncle tackled him and threw him in the pool.
Oh my God! So it didn't have to do with the playing; it just had to do with the.
Well, yeah, it was just
Just the
like,
socioeconomics
Oh, that's incredible.
of the environment.
Oh my
and
God.
I mean, looking back on it, that's fucking hilarious.
It's
Yeah.
man, wow.
It didn't hurt me one bit, but I was just like, damn, dude, how far in to hating yourself do you have to be to like make an ass of yourself out of like that?
Oh, yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So
That's the I hate to say it, but that's the triggered conservative person.
Yeah.
That's when you mix alcohol and drugs in that, yeah, it's what comes out. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't connect.
So you've witnessed that happen during a gig. Has something happened while you were singing or playing music?
Oh, for sure. Let me think about this. Is there something that comes?
No,
to-
I was just gonna say that I'm pretty sure we were mid song.
Oh yeah, no, we were.
And that's great. I
Yeah,
mean, not
yeah.
great, but like that's
It was great.
That's a side.
That's entertainment.
It was great.
Yeah,
It was great.
I'll tell you one.
Yeah,
there was,
please.
There's a couple. One of my favorites was in Santa Barbara. We were playing a wedding, and our band had a couple of subs. Not that really mattered, but it was just kind of a grouping of people that like don't always play together. And like playing wise, it was fine. But we're in a public park in Santa Barbara, and we're doing "I Want to Dance with Somebody," and a homeless woman is coming up to our stage. Now our stage is really just level playing field with the audience,
Right.
so it's not like we're above everyone and she climbed up something. Just came up to the mic next to our singer and was dancing around, and there was a security guard like trying to hold down the wedding, make sure it was okay. So I'm watching the security guard and the homeless woman like kind of talking back and forth while we're not stopping the song.
Yeah.
And I was music directing the gig, and my mind went to so many places of she has a weapon, she's going to steal something, she's going to hurt someone.
Yeah.
Like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And
Fair.
the two of them are like kind of yelling to each other, and they shove a little bit. Like he tries to pull her off, she shoves him, and we don't miss a single note. But our faces and our minds are just like spinning. And then and that was it. But it was definitely a scary moment.
Yeah.
Somebody who
Oh, we weren't even at the bridge yet. We're in like chorus 2.
yeah.
Chorus 2. But like that was nuts.
I need a man who can take a chance. Yeah.
I have you ever? I'm sure you've dropped sticks at a gig,
Oh yeah.
but
Oh, yeah.
has a stick been flown across the room? Ooh. Because I've had that happen to me.
Jazz school.
Like you were playing.
Like
and
I
the
was playing,
stick
and so I was
flew
playing
across
this.
the room?
This was a crazy night for me because now I'm a big Star Wars guy, and this may be a controversial opinion, but The Last Jedi is one of my favorite Star Wars movies, which a lot of people don't like because it changed a lot of things. But anyway, it was opening night of that movie, and I had a gig right before it. I was seeing the movie at like 11. This gig ended around like 9:30, 10. And it was in Beverly Hills, and I was bringing an electronic kit. So I'm like, great, this will be easy. Like I can pack it up real fast. And my brain was thinking, well, I only need one pair of sticks for this electronic kit. So I'm not going to bring my stick bag. I'm going to leave it in the car to save time. That makes absolutely no sense. Right. So I'm playing this gig, and it's, I'm doing this big fill, and my stick flies across the room into the audience. all the way. And I'm like, oh my God, did I hurt someone? Like, I have no idea what's going to happen. And I left my stick bag in the car.
Yeah.
So I have no other stick. And this is an electronic kit. So I'm looking around for
It's the
anything.
most bouncy.
Dasani water bottle
Yeah.
was my
Yes.
other stick
Very club.
on an electronic kit. So
Nice.
it doesn't matter what it is.
Yeah.
As long as it has a hard.
As long as it'll just
And you
hit
don't
it.
want to drink the water because
No.
Dasani is.
Luckily, the water was empty.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And Dasani is old Coke water.
Yeah. yeah.
And so, yeah, it spiraled into an even longer night of like my seats were triple booked at the ArcLight and had to argue with other people of like I bought my tickets first, and that was even crazier. But I think my all-time favorite story that really has nothing to do with me is that a sub singer was coming to a gig, and this person's one responsibility was to bring a microphone, like an SM58. Now, the person did not bring the microphone, and he had a specific reason, but I want you to guess. What do you think he said for why he couldn't bring the microphone to the gig?
I love a good guess.
Dog ate it.
I was gonna say dog, but okay. So you say that.
That's
I'm gonna
dog.
say, it got ran over.
It's neither of those.
Okay.
And I was right there, and luckily I had an extra SM58 in my bag that the person could use. But the reasoning was that he couldn't fit it in his car.
Amazing. Amazing. That's honestly, I like respect that.
Like straight faced, could not fit.
That's amazing.
No, SM58 is basically the size smaller than this.
Smaller than these.
Yeah.
And so my
Could
head's
fit in your pocket.
my head's spinning with jokes and bits as it's happening, but I
Oh
can't
my
say a word because it was like a serious
Yeah.
question. But like,
He was not being funny.
did you drive a clown car? Did you drive Hot Wheels here? Like,
Yeah.
what do you have other stuff filled in your car that you can't even fit in? Like, that was just mind-boggling.
That
to
is
me.
That is
wild.
What an dog
That's-
ate it is almost more legit.
Yeah.
Than
Yeah.
can't fit it in my car.
that takes some audacity.
yeah.
Like, I gotta- that's impressive, sort of.
Okay, what's your story?
bold.
It's stick throwing or
Yeah, there's
people
a
pushing
couple. There's a
anything?
couple of them that come to my mind. I mean, I live for some just like sort of unplanned chaos like that. I like that video that came out of I'm forgetting their names now, but it's Jane's Addiction, right? That
the pushing
singer
back and forth.
the-
Yeah.
I live for that kind of shit. I love things going wrong, like on Instagram, like
People getting hurt, mad. Yeah.
You've seen the angry drummer guitarist thing of like the
so
drummer jumping off the kit to push the
yes,
Yeah.
amazing. I love that shit. I love that shit. So I'll tell the second one in a second. The first one was like, this is when we were in Memphis and I was playing for the Memphis Grizzlies drumline, the NBA team's drumline. And it was like, we did a performance. We went out on the court and we did like a thing, like on a timeout or quarter break or whenever it was. And
Were you on snare or tenors?
snare.
Okay.
I was a snare guy and total drumline nerd as like a high schooler.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
like, definitely a snare drumline nerd up until about this time. Then it like I fully went jazz nerd, but we did our routine, and I take one of my sticks and I just chunk it into the crowd. Like, just, I grow up watching.
Like you're Trey Cool at the end of a Green Day
like,
set.
no,
You're
no,
throwing the
yeah,
sticks.
that's that's what I'm thinking. I'm
like you didn't
like,
just like lob it for them to catch it.
no,
You,
I
like,
chunked it.
You chunked it.
I don't know who got that. I don't know.
Oh, no.
I don't know what happened.
Oh my God.
That's why that person is One-Eyed Joe since that day.
Exactly. And yeah, just chunked it and didn't think it. I was like, oh yeah, whatever. Like, if somebody got a stick, that'll be fun.
Oh my
And like
God.
got back and like definitely got like I didn't get in trouble, but was definitely told you can't do that.
Hey, don't do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a funny moment, but
God.
this didn't involve me. I was just observing this, but this plays very much into the theme I was talking about a second ago. Do you know the jazz saxophonist David Binney?
It sounds familiar.
Have you heard of the drummer Dan Weiss?
Maybe.
Incredible like New York jazz drummer. And this was right when I moved to New York. I think this was maybe the week that I moved to New York. And RIP, there used to be this venue, the 55 Bar down in the Village, which was like a legendary little spot. I mean, it was tiny and super divey, but that's where like Wayne Krantz and Keith Carlock and Tim LaFave like really took off their thing. Like Keith Carlock, the story, Keith Carlock was playing at 55 Bar when Donald Fagen was watching and hanging out, and that's how he got the Steely Dan gig. Yeah, yeah.
He's incredible. I've seen
incredible. Steely Dan was my first concert ever.
Okay.
And Keith Carlock was playing, and
was that in Arkansas?
this was in Memphis. I was living in Arkansas, but
Okay.
my dad's like a huge, classic rock,
Yeah.
like dad rock fan, Led Zeppelin, Rush,
Yeah.
all that shit,
Nice.
Steely Dan, and
Yeah.
and so I go to the 55 bar to watch Dave Binney and his band play, and Dan Weiss is playing drums, and Dan's pretty zen-like dude, like very, like not, extravagant, pretty just, very Buddha Zen, and he's sitting at his drums, like warming up. And the drum set's here, the bar is here, like it's a tiny little spot. There's a dude at the bar that's hammered, and he nobody's playing. Dan's just sitting at his drum set, just warming up, just really lightly. And the dude at the bar goes up and kicks the bass drum. Dan jumps up from behind the drum set, tackles this dude.
Oh my
is
God.
choking this dude out, like at the bar. And I'm
Good.
watching this. I'm like, this is amazing.
Justice served.
Yeah, and then like the bar staff breaks it up and they kick the dude out, and Dan just goes back behind the drum set and continues warming up like nothing happened.
But
And
you
I
know
was
he's
like-
fuming in his head.
I was like, this. I've been waiting for this my whole life.
Yeah.
And like I said,
Yeah.
I just got to New York. I was like, this is what I've been.
It could have been the same guy that called me the faggot at the party.
Could have been
Yeah.
just making his rounds.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. That's amazing.
Yeah, it
that's
was
an amazing
great.
story.
It
I'm
was
gonna
great.
pivot into another opinion because we're gonna talk wedding gig stuff still.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So when I was like just starting drums, I was maybe like 10, 11, 12, and if there was a live band there, I had the guts to go up and be like, "Can I play?"
Yeah.
Nice,
Right?
Yeah.
nice,
And
respectable.
once in a while, it was great. Like it worked out, and like they let me do one song. I did my thing. Luckily, I could hang and like do the gig. But as I get older, and I'm doing these gigs, what is your opinion on random person coming up to you, singing or playing drums, and be like, "Hey, can I jump on a song?"
Get out. Get away.
You have a lot of experience of dealing
Get
with
away.
that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a
Most
certain
of the time.
It depends on the context and
if it's the groom or the bride.
Yeah.
They want to jump in.
yeah.
Oh.
I would prefer it was discussed beforehand.
Yeah.
But they're paying to
Yep.
use the band. Like, okay. If it's like the friend of a brother of the cousin, like that thing, I'm like, this is more for you than for anyone else.
100%.
So that's, yeah.
If you're actually a professional musician or have a lot of experience and you're really good, then it usually will work out fine. Most of the time, that's not the case.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's a hobby that has been long gone out of their life.
Right.
And they think they're going to kill, and they don't, which is entertaining.
But I would also think a professional musician knows their place.
Yes.
Yeah.
So like
I
you
would
wouldn't.
never.
I would
ask.
never.
Exactly.
Even if
never.
I was at a place and at a wedding or something, and there was a band playing, and all of my friends were like, "Oh, Brennan is so good. Please let him sing." I would be like, "Fuck off! No, I'm not."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless if they want to talk, like there just
Yeah.
needs to be a discison.
For 100%.
I think that's
Yeah,
what's most
100%.
important than like
Yeah.
a spur of the moment.
I was at one, and I played a wedding just a few weeks ago in Napa, and there was a guy, the bride's dad, who I actually oddly know from Memphis years and
Weird.
years ago.
a
And
small world.
he's really good. Like I get why this was a moment for them. But he did like the whole like guitar behind the head thing and everything.
my god!
I mean, as a dad, like then it's just like that's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah,
There's that like
it was cool.
age of like
Yeah.
you this is more for you than for anyone else,
Right.
and then there's the age of like, okay,
This is for me.
That's totally acceptable. Like
Yeah.
this is gonna be remembered at weddings.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure,
yeah,
that
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of thing.
When I do a gig weekly, 4 nights a week at the Beverly Wilshire Hotel.
Oh wow.
And
What's-
people come up to sometimes to want I just play keys and sing,
Keys and sing.
they want to like, do you mind if I sit in with you? And I'm always like, I always use the hotel as like a deflection
policy.
Like, yeah, I was like, I'm sorry, I can't let anyone sing. And it's honestly a good policy because most people that come up and are asking that question don't know
No.
mic
Oh,
technique. They
No.
don't realize how loud they're being. Like the reason why I get hired all the time for gigs like that and have kept this gig for so long is I know exactly the volume that everybody wants it to be at. And no
That
higher.
is the gig, kind of.
Yeah.
That's the gig.
And
Yeah.
I have a way of singing that's just in that setting that is perfect. It's like somebody put the record on and turned it at the right amount. And most people don't have that barometer. Even some people that play gigs elsewhere outside of like the restaurant lounge thing, I'm reluctant to hire them as subs because I'm like, I don't think you know the volume that you need to be at. Or like whenever you want a belt sometimes, like don't.
Do you have an assigned
Maybe don't.
decibel limit?
I don't. I've done it for
Instinctual.
my entire life.
Okay.
So I just know like I've never it's a badge of honor to me that I've not been asked to turn the music down in years.
That's a really big skill to have.
Yeah,
100%.
So then my next question
Yeah.
to your gig is, do you get requests or do you set a playlist?
No, I shoot from the hip every day that I'm there. I never know. I don't have a set list. I just have my iPad filled and my brain just filled with tunes. I mostly sing at the Beverly Wilshire. It's like it's over 100 years old. I mean, it's more than 100 years old. 120 at this point, I think. It was built in like 1900. And I play from this like gig book that's like pretty much stops at like the 1960s or 70s. And so I'm singing music from literally the 20s to
Wow.
the 50s, which is the perfect style for that space.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's very classic, it's elegant.
So you don't go past 1960?
No, I do.
Okay.
I play a lot of pop tunes too, but for the first bit of the night, or depending on how the night's going here lately, I've been, because of the political climate, I've just been like pretending like we're in the 1940s again because that's what we just voted back in.
So then what's your most requested song? Should we guess? Do you know what it is?
I don't know what it is.
Well, I mean, it's a lot. I mean, people,
Are we gonna be able to guess it?
I'm trying to think of what the most one is. I mean, I've got one in mind that's obviously a standard.
I got like 3, and
Yeah, go for it.
I'm gonna say "Don't Stop Believing."
Oh no, never get that one.
I guess I'm going wedding vibe as opposed to bar.
I
gig.
typically do close a lot of my weddings with that song though. Yeah.
Well, I think the anthems of weddings for closing is either "Don't Stop Believing," "Africa," "Sweet Caroline," or the new one. Do you know what the new one is?
Mr. Brightside.
That's
Yes.
right.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
new one.
Mr. Brightside is the new Don't Stop Believing.
It's the new
It
Don't
is
Stop
the
Believing.
millennial Don't Stop
Yeah.
Believing.
I do it all
And
the
I
time.
love it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
The wedding, I sing in this really great wedding band that's like super high end gigs, and like I love like my time to shine personally is the cocktail hour or the dinner set because I like to croon and like I like jazz, and soulful music, right? But I'm the token white guy, so like I'm always singing fucking All the Small Things and Mr. Brightside, and that's fine. But there's no vocal challenge to that at all. It's just like, you know,
Yeah.
I hate it. I mean, I don't hate it. It's fun. It's fine. People love it, you know.
Yeah.
But it's like I don't get to do the soul shit that
Get
I
to-
used to
get-
sing in
get to do
Memphis, or
Frank.
you know, I do get to do the Frank. I am the Frank and the Dean. You know,
You
that's
are.
that's
Okay.
that's me. But no, going back to your song request, you
Yeah.
said "Don't Stop Believing."
I'm gonna say "Fly Me to the Moon."
"Fly Me to the Moon" is
because
always the
that-
standard.
that's cocktail hour.
It's
Yeah.
mostly what,
Type of thing.
yeah. It's pretty simple. People just associate. Oh, there's the piano guy. Play Piano Man. You know, I haven't gotten that one in a long
I should
time.
have
Yeah, yeah.
gone right there.
Do you know that I've never even learned Piano Man the way that Billy Joel plays it? I just go run down like C, just like and just do it sort of like a lot of songs that I cover. A lot of times I don't even take the time to go back and like learn the song exactly. It's all from like my own feel and vibe, which I kind of enjoy. But like, you know, his little intro that he does,
Yeah.
you know, all that.
I mean, you don't have to do that intro.
Never done it. Yeah,
You never need to
never
do that.
learned it. Never don't know how to do it. I just go bang, ba-dang, 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 ba-dang,
Yeah.
ba-dang, you know, and it's fine. But yeah, that it's speaking, we were talking about gigs and everything. The other night, another mafia situation happened at
At the Wilshire?
Yeah,
What does that mean?
I will explain.
There's some
it to you.
interesting characters up at the Wilshire.
There are there's a certain type of client that comes in that bar sometimes that I believe could have some ties to certain industries that aren't trading on the S&P 500. I'll say.
Hey, my dad did
Nasdaq.
similar gigs in Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Rhode
yeah.
Island being an Italian, very heavily Italian.
They typically
Type
do
of
have an
thing.
accent
Yeah.
that is not
Coincidentally.
Yep. I don't want to be borderline racist there, but they typically do have an accent, and there's this particular type of male energy that is very. I hate to use toxic masculinity is so overused, but it is that.
It's aggressive.
Aggressive behavior, very drunk. They were slouched and across from that booth that's across from where I play. And I saw him coming up and I was like, oh, and they requested me play the Godfather theme and the Scarface theme.
No,
And
it's too obvious.
they gave me $200.
I
I was
mean-
like, coming right up. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
awesome.
but I had not heard those things. I mean, I knew, I guess I couldn't tell you how they went, right? I can't remember. I've actually never seen The Godfather or Scarface.
Oh, you gotta watch.
you
that.
guys
watch,
see,
I
you guys
know.
see God. I've never
Yeah.
seen Scarface, but The Godfather.
But I'm on my iPad and I can look up any sheet music. I went to school for classical piano, so I'm a great sight reader. I put something in front of my face, I'm pretty much, can do it okay, do it justice. And I start playing it and I'm like, oh God, this is dark. It's really dark.
It's definitely not like a happy melody.
No.
Yeah.
And this was Thursday after the election.
Oh,
and then
okay.
that energy with it was very
Yeah.
do what I say energy. And I was like in such a dark place last week because of Rick passing away and everything. And I was just like, this sucks. And they security they had already were alerted to them being kind of irreverent and stuff. And I literally looked over to the security officer and I was just like, I don't feel comfortable right now. And she was like, yeah, I'm going to stand right here,
Yeah.
whatever. So I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah,
I think
Godfather
the most
and Scarface
requested-
thing. Yeah, and I was like, you are so lame. And he came back over. The guy came back over because I have a way of weaving my tunes. I'm like, okay, we're in E flat. I can do Misty now, whatever. And he comes over and he's like, hey, where's the thing, whatever. And I was like, oh, I played it. I was like, and then I tried to ration with him, but he was at a certain level of intake that I was just not reading for him. I was like, it's really dark for this room. I can't play music like that. It's very dim, dark. We want happy light and stuff. He's like, well, play. Yeah. And then he was like, you'll play something light. And I was like, I've been playing fucking Sunny Side of the Street before you walked up here, you fuck face.
Just bringing the room down.
Yeah. God. So anyway, that's been the worst experience lately for
Okay.
me with gigs.
Well, I'll have to bring you to the castle because you have to meet Irma. Do you know who Irma is?
No.
Irma is the ghost that plays the piano at the
Oh,
Magic
great.
Castle.
Yeah.
And she takes requests.
Great.
and she's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we gotta go up there. I would love it.
I mean, I know
You
it's
gotta
the
go.
Magic Castle, but is it? I guess you can't give away the magic there.
I just said it. She's a
She's
ghost.
a ghost
that
and
plays
does it.
piano.
Yeah, got it.
And a story.
how does The Magic Castle is such an interesting place to me because it's not open to the public.
It is not open to the public. You have to be a member or
Yep.
the guest of a member.
And how do you become a member?
There's various ways of auditioning to
Okay.
be a magician member or a non-magician member, where you just pay a bit more than being an audition member
Right.
Gotcha.
because you're not a magician.
So you have like a membership fee.
Yes.
To end.
Yeah,
So
it's a
that's
membership.
So
It's
is able
Soho
to,
House for magicians.
Yeah.
Okay, so
exactly.
that's how it can stay open.
That's
and,
how it
and
yes.
run.
Mhm. And it's been
okay.
around since 1963.
Okay.
Cool.
It's been around for a long
I drive
time.
by it all the time. It's awesome.
It's
Yeah.
a great place. We'll have to go.
Yeah,
would
I would
love
love
that.
to do that. Aaron just went with some friends. I was working that night.
Yeah.
But I'm off on Sunday, Monday, Tuesdays. So
Okay.
hit me up.
Great.
Let's
Yeah,
do it.
would love
Yeah.
that. So David Blaine's story.
Oh, yeah.
This is when I was living in New York.
I love this commercial break of Bren.
Yeah.
I drink a Venti. I'm an idiot.
Brennan has a small bladder. And so this is like 9 years ago. And
In New York?
In New York. Yeah.
Yeah.
Me and one of my buddies who was in town visiting were at a restaurant in Union Square called Coffee Shop, RIP. It was an awesome spot, kind of a staple location restaurant, and is now a Chase ATM, basically.
Sounds
so
right.
It's really, really disheartening. And we were having dinner there, and it was just the two of us and some random dude come. And I grew up watching David Blaine's Street Magic. Like me and my stepbrother loved that shit. Like dug David Blaine way more than like Chris Angel and like the other ones. And some dude comes in, and when I first moved to New York, saw David Blaine down on one of the Chelsea piers when he was doing one of his performance pieces of just being like electrocuted for like a week straight or something, like just some crazy David Blaine shit. And dude just comes in, gets our attention at the table. He's like, "Hey, do you guys like card tricks?" I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Do you know David Blaine?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Do you want to see David Blaine like do some tricks?" I was like, "Yeah." And Victor, our buddy, he was like kind of like weirded out about it. I was like, "We're doing this. Like, don't get."
I can hear Victor. Oh, I don't know, man.
Yeah. I was like, "No, this is happening." And literally just like turn around, and in the corner booth is David Blaine and just like two of his homies, like very low key. Like I didn't even notice him. I think he had like a hat on or something. And this is so long ago, I forget what the specific tricks were, but proceeds to do just, like the most mind blowing, like David Blaine card tricks. And we're just like tripping out, like just like at this booth, just like losing it. And,
Yeah.
like, the waitress comes over and she's like tripping out. And, David Blaine's usually, especially like on the shows, like very stoic and like
Yeah.
in character. But like we're like losing our shit and they're
Yeah.
like laughing at like our reaction. It was just like, it was really funny. And he was basically just like, "Yeah, we're about to do a new television special and we're just trying out tricks."
That's
And
awesome.
It was one of the coolest things that's ever happened to me.
That's-
It was so
His
sick.
Ascension thing that he did a few years ago. Did you ever watch that?
I don't know if I did.
It was where he tied a bunch of balloons to himself and
Oh, I heard
went
about this.
in the air. Yeah,
Basically pulled an up.
yeah,
With a house?
Yeah,
Crazy.
Yeah, I love that. I actually want to. Benny's been discouraging me for the last year.
You
but-
want to try to do it?
No, not that.
Something similar.
I want to learn how to like paraglide and paramotor, like which is paragliding which is the parachute, where you can just kind of glide off a mountain or whatever. But then the paramotor, which is where you have the fan on the back of you, the
go-kart.
the
on the back
go-kart
of you.
motor on the back, and then you just fly. Like I watch YouTube videos of people like 10,000 feet in the air.
I feel like paragliding is safer than paramotoring.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the
Paragliding doesn't seem all. I mean, you could obviously still die doing that, but it's like you're not tethered to this super heavy weight. You
Right.
might have like a backup chute.
Well,
or
I don't think
something.
the fan thing with the little motor is, maybe 50 pounds, something like that.
That is even more discouraging. That's it's like you got like a little like
I don't know.
garage fan on your back.
Yeah, but I mean, you still have the same parachute attached to you.
Yeah.
So I don't
It
know.
just
I'm
sounds
kind of
sketch.
fascinated by it. I know it's really dangerous, but I'm like, yeah, time to do some extreme shit.
Yeah,
I think
now that you don't have to look after Rick.
Now that I don't
just,
look
like,
after
put
Rick, I
your
don't have
life
a
on the
child.
line.
I've stopped looking at the news.
So
Got to
it's
get your
time-
adrenaline
Gotta
fix
get my
somewhere.
It's time to
dopamine.
paraglide.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm stepping back from the substance use, but much more than I have, which is good.
Yeah,
And
just like get a motorcycle.
I'm
Just-
I think that's more dangerous.
It is.
You're
for
taking
sure.
more risk
No,
every
a
day.
motorcycle's
The
for sure more
motorcycle,
dangerous.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the paraglide is safer than
Right?
the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
motorcycle.
Because the parachute, I mean, at least if you lose a little bit of control, you're just gliding.
Yeah,
I mean,
no, the motorcycle's for sure more dangerous.
yeah, I do love
especially
riding-
in LA.
Oh my god, I rode the shit out of the Revels that used to be in New York
Yeah, yeah,
City.
yeah, the little
New York
moped
used to have
scooters.
those scooters.
Oh, the scooters.
that you
I've
could
never
rent
done one.
Yeah, you could rent like a city bike. It was just with an app.
Yeah.
and you find them. They're just parked on the street. You have to park them just like you would park any other thing. I logged 500 miles on them.
Wow.
Like in a short period of time, like 2 or 3 year period of them having them. So fun. Just electric mopeds. You have to drive them in traffic. Like you can't. It's not like a bike lane situation.
It's terrifying.
thing.
Yeah.
I loved it. I loved it. And it was such a good way to like see the city.
You're an adrenaline junkie.
I am.
Yeah.
I can tell.
I
Yeah.
am.
Just
I am.
by all this
I mean,
talk.
yeah, and I bought a jet ski this summer that goes like 70 miles an hour on the water.
Yeah, I mean your politics viewing probably is giving you an adrenaline
Yeah.
fix.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. I'm done. I'm done with
Start
that.
surfing.
Well, I did. I'm Dylan.
Yeah,
is
go with Dylan.
Yeah, he needs to teach us. Yeah, and shout out Dylan. We're going to a show tonight.
Yeah,
Bare Hands.
Bare Hands.
Bare Hands.
You ever heard of Bare Hands?
No.
Really cool indie rock
Amazing.
band. They've been around
New
a
record
while.
just came. They're on their 10-year anniversary of this record.
Yeah, one of their, like-
Distraction.
yeah,
Distraction.
Yeah, that was the name of the album.
And then, but this new record is so good too.
Yeah.
I love
Bare
the new
hands. Are we
record.
saying like
Yeah.
BEAR or BARE?
BEAR. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. They're from
Connecticut.
Dylan's from Connecticut, but they all were in Brooklyn for many, many years.
Yeah.
And Dylan's now out here, and the rest of the band's back in the Northeast. But this is the first tour they've toured with like 21 Pilots and like
Nice.
a bunch of like really big like more alternative rock acts and. But this is like the first tour they've been on since like well before COVID.
Yeah.
And so it'll be
Where
fun.
where are they playing?
What's the name of the venue? It's downtown.
I can't
It's like one of the little
it the
theatery-
Belasco?
No,
I can't.
forgetting off the
remember.
top of my head.
The Staples Center? Is that what it's called?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Or what's it? Crypto.com?
Yeah, crypto. Yeah,
Yeah.
not that one. Yeah.
Circle back on that one.
Yeah.
But the Dylan's engaged to my cousin. It's such a small world. Do you
Wow.
know? Because we haven't really talked much about your music supervision. Like
Yeah.
that's like been like, I mean, obviously outside of being a drummer and playing with a bunch of acts and doing CoComelon was music director. Is music director your title?
That's my title. At
Yeah.
CoComelon, So-
And then, but a big part of your career has been being a music supervisor,
yeah, I've been doing that since.
which is how we met
That's how we
originally when you were working with
with Gabe.
Gabe up at Music and Strategy. Shout out Moz.
Yes.
Um,
yeah.
and then you went and worked at, was it Blizzard?
Activision.
Activision.
So I did Activision twice. So like
Okay.
I started music supervision working at a small music publishing company. That's grown a lot over the years. Heavy Hitters Music.
Mm-hmm.
I was there for a bit, and then that was the pitching side to music supervisors.
Okay.
So I was working directly with songwriters, helping like kind of like produce from a executive level of just like this is the type of music they're looking for.
Yeah.
Maybe write these kind of lyrics because it's more placeable.
Mm-hmm.
I do that for a bit, and then I switched to the choosing side of Activision. I was a coordinator at Activision for 2.5 years, licensed all the music for the Guitar Hero that came out in 2015
Epic.
called Guitar Hero Live, which had a different point of view from just the CGI people. You were in the perspective of the performer, which we all know, but the audience changes in real time. If you're not playing well, they start booing you.
Oh, nice.
And they have signs that say, I don't know if it says you suck, but like a lot of things.
They throw a towel at your face
They
and
throw
call
a
you
towel at
faggot.
your face, and then your uncle falls into the pool.
Yeah.
So I licensed over 1,000 songs for that
Crazy.
game.
Wow.
And it was a real great learning experience for me where I could basically look at the title of a song and have an idea of who's the publisher,
Yeah.
who's the label. Like it got that deep
Wow.
with understanding how to research songs. So it was a real boot camp for me. Then when I got to music and strategy and getting into the ad world, that was a whole other thing for me. And that's where we met.
Yeah.
For you being a composer for Moss. And so I was music supervising and producing a lot of the songs and the pitches that were happening. And that was a huge boot camp for me of learning the ad world and working how to clear a song in 24 hours and how to get a quote and like doing all these things. And it was a really great experience going back to Activision as the full-on music supervisor for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, which was the reboot that came out in 2020.
Yeah.
And just like doing so much at Moss, it was just like your foot was on the pedal all the time. And it was a little slower Activision, but I was ready for anything.
Yeah.
And like kudos to Gabe for training me and the whole Moss team.
Totally.
And so music supervision just encompassed my life as my day job for years and years. And I won an award for Tony Hawk for the
Hell
Guild of
yeah.
Music Supervisors, best music supervision in a video game.
Nice.
So I was like, all right, I feel good. Like I'm proud of this game. I grew up with Tony Hawk. Like this is,
100%.
and I worked on Call of Duty too. I'm neglecting Call of Duty is a huge game.
Oh, for
so I was
sure.
music supervisor for that. And then I moved into another space of like TikTok music, working with an agency and doing producing music for that stuff. And then CoComelon kind of came, and it was like, oh, well, I've built my entire life on this of what it is.
Yeah.
And so I'm super proud of that work. But
Cool.
the supervision has been the day job, and then the night job, if you will, is like the playing and the writing and arranging, because I went to Berkeley for arranging and performance.
Okay, so you didn't go for drums.
I did, but I
Okay.
was a dual major.
Gotcha.
So I did, they call it contemporary writing and production, which is a long name for arranging and being a contemporary composer, as well as doing the drums as a performance degree, which was great. I wish I did like double writing instead of like writing and performance, because I was doing so much playing.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked like performance. It's not really that worthwhile of a degree.
It's what you think you
pursuance.
need, and then you realize, because I almost wasn't going to go to Berkeley, because being the studious high school student, oh, well, people drop out. Like, why would they drop out of school if it's, it's probably not good?
Yeah.
No, they were getting work and
Yeah,
gigs, and I didn't realize like a degree doesn't really.
And good for that.
Yeah.
Benny dropped out. Now, I mean, I finished, but I was a performance major on scholarship for classical piano.
Okay.
I already kind of knew everything I needed to know to like be good at classical piano
Well, that's the thing. Like,
before I even started college. Like
Right.
my teacher in high school was fucking. She was a college professor, so like, yeah.
But I think you realize at a young age, like, what it is you truly love doing.
Yeah.
And not to say that you can't learn more, but now you have the skills to do the job that will get you the work.
Right.
And I think there's this divide or this feeling I had going into Berkeley of like, well, jazz is the high honors of music, and anything is just like honors or college prep. And that was a really bad feeling to have going in, because it's like, well, what if I don't want to do the high honors thing in my mind of thinking jazz was that? And so, and then you have people at Berkeley who are just there forever, and they're like, well, I know jazz, I don't know any other genre, so I'm going to look down upon whatever is not what I'm used to. And that just happens at any school. It's not just mine, but it's just learning over the years of like, oh, I don't like playing that. I don't have to. So therefore, what was my performance degree for? Was it to just have a paper to say I practiced and did my lesson? Or because I got more experience from playing with regular people. Like
100%.
One of the best jobs I ever had was a work study job for the voice department at Berkeley. as a hired drummer for their classes. Like I was paid hourly
Nice.
to just play, and I did as many hours as I could. I tried to do more hours with that than my classes, just so I could have.
I mean, you
that
were getting money.
experience.
It's a good
I was getting
incentive.
money, so that was my work study job.
Yeah.
And I'm meeting vocalists. I'm working with teachers who are talking to vocalists, not just like a drummer. And
For
that was
sure.
such real world experience for me. Of like it was a lead sheet teaching class, teaching singers how to write lead sheets, and it was great for me as an arranger.
Yeah.
Number one, because I knew how to do it. Number two, what I really loved about the teacher was she was educating the singers and she had some really good points of like, and she told the band, because like it was really great. She said, "Hey band, their charts are going to be wrong. You need to play them wrong. Do not correct them because they need to learn that they can't just be a singer who just gets by because they have a nice voice and they're passing out charts that are crap." You know, I thought that was a really good lesson to teach those singers, because then people
I could use that lesson. Yeah, I never really write charts.
yeah, because they'll take advantage of
Yeah.
you and just be like, "Oh, that's just a singer who doesn't know music," and that's not fair to the singers, you
Yeah.
know. And so she really taught a valuable lesson of like, don't just play it wrong.
Yeah,
They'll
yeah, yeah.
learn. And then it was great for me working with singers, because I'd say to them, "What type of groove do you want for this song?" if I hadn't heard it before. And they'll say, "Oh, I don't know." And I say, "Just beatbox it." "Oh, I can't beatbox." No. Trust me. Like my ears, I'll figure it out. So they'd beatbox something. And I'd say, "You mean like that?" Like, "Yeah, that's it." And that has carried me throughout my entire career, because that's what my job is.
Yeah.
I have to translate non-music speak into
sure.
music.
Yeah.
And it's that big, my biggest note about notes is do what they mean, not what they say.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just because someone says, "I want something a bit more purple," and you're like, "Purple? What does that mean?" Like, you know, purple, like something bouncy and happy. That's the note.
Yeah,
the
yeah,
note
yeah.
isn't purple.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, "I just want something happy," but not like overjoyous. It's like, well, what does that mean? And you just have to keep digging in and read between the lines and
Yeah.
know, like, don't take the notes so literally, because it's just a language barrier. And this is such a cheesy thing to say, but music is the universal language of the world. And so by sharing music with each other and learning from different notes, like you can see like, what are they responding to? What are they not liking? Like,
Yeah.
how do they view the thing that we've studied all of our lives and hear it a different way? And it's been really valuable as a music supervisor, as a composer, as a director.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we haven't had a music supervisor on here yet, but I think it's like such a valuable perspective for, you know, musicians to have, is like, what are from the music supervising seat, when you're working with a composer or just writing music in general, like what are some of the most important things that musicians should know to have success in syncing music in a multimedia format? And I know that's
It's a
broad question,
the biggest
but,
question
like,
in the
yeah,
world, but there's a couple of tips I'd say, and this is what I do with my composers. When there's a brief that's given to you, I think it's always better to go beyond what's being asked and bring it back, as opposed to not going far enough. Because when people don't get what they're looking for, they want more and more.
Yeah.
That level just goes like little by little by little. And it gets harder because they're like, no, hard, like go further than that. If you have too much, it's easier to trim it down and be like I'd rather you go a 12 out of 10 so I can bring you down to a 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
Right?
For
and I think
sure.
that's super important to like overdo the brief so that you can bring it back. That could always bite you as well, because maybe you went too hard over what they were asking for and they may skip past you. But in my mind, I feel like it shows that you're listening, like, well, can we go this far?
Yeah.
Like, no, we got to go back a bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I think the other thing to remember is, as a music supervisor, we are the gatekeeper of music to get you in the door. But I myself or other supervisors are not the final say. There's so many other people that need to make that decision where like I'm servicing a manager of the advertising or the press or whatnot, which then has to go to their boss and then the highest boss. So you're going through all these rings of hell, if
Yeah,
you were,
for
of like
sure.
it has to cut through all of them for them to say this works.
Yeah.
And then this is the budget that we have. And then it comes back down and there are notes. So it's like, if you can get through all those hoops, that's great. But keep in mind, like, there's so many people that have to discuss it. Additionally, when we're listening to music, we only have a certain amount of time in the day to listen to everyone's example. So my biggest thing is the first like 5 to 10 seconds. If we're not in it, if it takes a while to get into like what it's going to be, it's like, I gotta keep moving. But keep in mind, like, I might have time to skip to the chorus. And it depends on how you're presenting the files too. Because if you're presenting it in like Disco or Dropbox, we can see the wavelength. And so people who are really thinking about it, they move to the part where the wavelength is big. So that's the chorus, right? So like you see that opening intro and you have to think about editing, right? So like your song needs to be so editable that you can like see the wavelengths to know like that's an intro, that's a chorus. Oh, that's a chorus that doesn't have a vocal. It's like you're already making the stems without the editors having to ask for stems.
For sure.
You know what I
For
mean?
sure.
And you know how to present the right stems that they need, but like if your song is easy enough to edit to picture, they don't have to do much. They don't need to think hard about it. But that wavelength's so important, especially the skipping part. Because we got to get to that chorus right away and know. Because if it's a 30-second commercial, I don't want to hear a 30-second intro.
Totally.
Like, I need to know in that editable way. That was a 5-second jump, and then we just jumped right in. Get right to your chorus. And a lot of this also applies. We were talking earlier about musical improv, comedy stuff. Because I'm part of a group where I improvise an entire musical on the spot for an hour with my buddy Dan, who plays piano, and I'm on drums. And there's no time to think there. You just go. And the improvisers are really good at writing lyrics and melody and structure on the spot. And like, yes, there's your typical like verse, chorus, bridge, chorus thing, but there's still a lot of variables around it. And that's really helped me with even my own songwriting of like, don't think, like just go. Just do it. There's no time to think. And what's really great about the improv comedy stuff is like we don't have time to edit it. We're all editing on the fly and laughing about like that was silly or that didn't work out, but hey, that was
I
it.
would love to try it sometime.
You would be good at it.
You'd have to come see it because it's sometimes when we do raps, like when the actors are doing it's just insane how they come up with the stuff. How did you get there? And a lot of it is just kind of like putting that placeholder in your mind of where you want to land. And then you're like, and there. Kind of like when we're making like solos or fills where you know how you want to end, but on the spot you're like, I know where it's gonna go, but this is what I got to do to get there. Or like any of your vocal runs or whatnot.
Totally.
But like I feel like all this stuff has helped me with music supervision to know like this is gonna work, this is not gonna work. But then there's the other thing of like of knowing like if they tell you exactly what they want, sometimes that's not what they want.
For sure.
And a lot of times it goes the complete opposite direction. And that's out of your control.
100%.
I remember we worked on some demos at Moss for a brand that they told us exactly what they wanted. And we gave them exactly what they wanted. And one of the cues I told Gabe, I'm like, this isn't really what they wanted at all. And he's like, well, just throw it in just in case. Because then you're giving like, if you're giving 10 options, 5 to 7 of them are what they wanted. And then the last 5 to 3 or whatever are not. They went with the one that wasn't their brief at all. Like, oh, but sometimes people need to hear, it's again, do what they mean, not what they say. In whether it's not exactly what they wanted, it hit the vibe.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I've definitely seen that myself as like a lot of times people, like exactly what you're saying, don't know what they want. And it's like they know what they want at the end, but they don't know how to get there. And it's almost like, you know, even developing a business or building anything almost, it's there's so many things that can happen along the way. That's like, oh, this isn't actually it. Pivot, reinterpret, adjust. But yeah, I've definitely seen myself too, that people oftentimes don't know what they want, and there is so much that's out of your control. And it's like, at the end of the day, sort of trying to read between that and then just try to make something that you think is as great as what you can provide for said thing. And then it's like, you don't know. Like there's so many different elements, like you're saying, that come into play. But I've found as a composer, it's like your best bet is to listen and take in like the framework of which you're working in, but then to use your instinct as a creative and an artist to try to just make something that you think is really great for this particular thing.
And you have to remember, as an artist, like, you are being hired by these people for what they're looking for.
Exactly.
So you bring yourself as much as you can, but at the end of the day, it is still what they need.
Yeah.
And like, you could,
serving their story.
And you may completely disagree with what it is, but
Totally.
that's the job. You have to service what that is. You know, you're not going to play a gig and they tell you like, play this style, don't play any other style. And if you do, like, that's not what you got hired for.
Exactly.
I'm not going to play a jazz gig and play metal drums. The whole time. Like, you're hired to do what's meant for the gig.
For sure.
Right.
100%. No, those are good bits. But so what do you got on the horizon? What should people know about?
We're in the plug section now.
In the plug
section. Wow. Well, I monthly play at UCB, Upright Citizens Brigade on Franklin.
Okay.
With the group I was telling you about, Baby Wants Candy. It's been going on for many, many years. My buddy Dan, who you know, has been playing for like 17 years doing it. Crazy. He did it in Chicago, and then we opened up the LA version back in 2014. So I've been doing it for 10 years, and we make up a musical every month, and it's really fun. So it's the second Friday of every month.
Okay.
I won't be back there until January, but that's my gig.
We'll come out.
Yeah,
for
you guys
sure.
gotta come. And then just playing gigs here and there, and sometimes private, sometimes not.
Yeah.
More private than public.
What's your main instrument?
Drums.
Drums.
Yeah, I'm a drummer, but I can also play. I'm a composer pianist. So
Yeah.
I can dabble and do the things. And just some more projects coming up that I'm trying to dig into a bit more than I hadn't had time in the past, because I'm juggling work and stuff at home. So,
Life.
Yeah.
Lifing. But man, Eric,
Thank you for
coming
being
on
here.
Thanks
This
for
is
having
awesome.
me. This was a fun talk.
It was a blast. Got some great.
We covered everything.
Yeah.
Children, politics,
Yeah.
drugs.
We really did.
It's really,
We really.
Yeah.
we're really thorough here.
So we do at the Ben and Bren show.
Last week we had it was just us.
We didn't have any
and
guests.
We didn't have any guests, which I also enjoy too, because we've known each other for almost going on 20 years now. And we had a soundboard that was
Just like
you went full on like
Yeah.
early morning radio.
we had our Halloween costumes on. It was fun.
It was our Halloween episode.
What were your costumes?
I was just a
Elton John
clone.
clone?
Yeah, just like,
Variant, a quantum version of
I'm
Elton John.
so bad at Halloween. Like but when it comes time, it's already too late for me to think of a costume.
I'm the
And
same way. I love Halloween. I love the
awful.
concept
I love
of
it,
Halloween.
yeah.
But the effort to do a costume, I don't want to do. But now my daughter she loves Halloween.
Oh, yeah.
I did some acid the other night and went and dressed as Elton John or whatever, and went to I live in WeHo, so they did like they closed down Santa Monica. It's massive. It's crawling with people, and that was an experience. That was a spooky. That was a spooky fun time.
Yeah, me and Vanessa. I was a golden retriever, aka Jupiter.
Yep.
You were your dog.
Yeah, and Vanessa was our cat Hazel.
Wow.
And they were us. Yeah. Jupiter had a little NASA shirt.
Wow.
And Hazel had a dress.
What a life swap right there.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah,
That's
got
awesome.
a taste of what it's like. Life's like for them.
Yeah, it seems pretty good for them.
very
They
good.
don't have to vote.
No,
They don't.
Well,
have
that's
to
what we
do-
were saying on that last episode. It's like whatever happens in the next life, coming back as a golden retriever.
It's pretty great.
It's hard
Pretty
to
great.
being born in Calabasas and just literally like
Yeah.
hanging out with me every day. and
Jupiter was
going to the
born in
beach.
Calabasas.
She was, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause you're in Calabasas.
I'm
yeah,
near
you guys are
there.
neighbors.
I lived in Calabasas for a little bit, which was. I'm a huge Incubus fan.
yeah.
So to
That was
be
my first concert ever.
that was my first
nice.
concert.
Oh,
Yeah.
crazy.
To
Is that where
li-
they're from?
They're from Calabasas,
Okay.
so it
Wow.
made me very happy to be
Nice. Yeah.
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 there.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, Eric, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
And We'll do another one at some point.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I love that. We'll talk more music stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Less-
See where life's at then. I'll have a
Less sad
little boy
stuff,
running
more
around.
happy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we'll just keep it light.
Yeah.
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 Let's. Do you want to start this over?
Yeah, let's.
Yeah.
We weren't recording,
Scrap
right?
this one. Yeah,
No, that was the
okay.
warm up. That was the
Cool.
sound check.
Perfect.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Peace out.
Ben and Bren Show. Peace.
Stuff you know and stuff you don't. It's the Ben and Bren Show.